Hello Movie Mavens, welcome back to another video on the B Movie channel. My name is Bailey and I put the B in movies. So two things up top. One, I just touched up my hair, so if you see black hair dye anywhere on my face, no you didn't. And then two, I'm gonna be very honest. I pride myself on being as honest as possible in my writing. Ooh, my bangs, the bang growth, y'all, we're getting there. Don't cut your bangs on New Year's Eve. Don't make decisions like that. That will ruin your whole year. And that's what I did last year. I love my micro bangs, but growing them out is so hard. Um, and two, just to be very honest, I've had a rough past few days. Like the first few days of this year, and I'm not being dramatic, were worse than my entire 2023 combined. And I feel bad saying that because there are so many things in the world going on that are just horrible. And I am fortunate to have people in my life to help support me. I have a roof over my head, I have a job, and I feel bad complaining. But I've had a very stressful past few days, and it's kind of like the hits keep on coming. So this video is probably going to be a little bit shorter than what we normally do. But one, I wanted to give you a video. I don't feel pressured to, I wanted to. And secondly, doing this and writing for the B Movies blog, writing on my personal blog, it makes me feel better. I'm not always the best at like articulating my feelings verbally, and writing just really helps me with that. And so filming and writing for you for the B Movies blog makes me feel better. And so even if this is a shorter video today, I wanted to do it. And I already kind of feel better just talking into the ether. But yeah, if you're having a rough beginning of the year too, I hear you, I see you. I fully get you, because I mean I'm having a doozy of a time. So I get you, I see you, you're not alone, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna get through it together. And I just wanted to be honest up top. If I'm not as peppy as I usually am, I'm so sorry, but I still wanted to film. I still wanted to give you guys content, and honestly, even though, again, I feel like I'm talking to the ether, it just feels good to kind of have a conversation like this with someone. And I'm very fortunate. Again, I have friends. I've been on the phone with friends multiple times this week, with my sister. Shout out to all my friends and family for all their support the past few days. I am fine. It's not anything health related, thank goodness, or anything like that. It's just been some stressful personal stuff. And so thank you to everyone that supported me. And if you are also going through stressful stuff, right here up top at the beginning of the year, I see you, I feel you. We're going to get through it. We may be covered in, pine needles and battle scars, but we're going to get through it. And so, with that being said, we're going to do the blog roundup, we're going to do Bite Size Sunday, we're going to do special features and talk about video 4 of Married to a Sleepwalker, which Vintage 8, if you're watching, I got that notification when I was filming last week's video, and I was like, dang it. I would have done both at the same time, because I'm so sorry if I'm annoying you by tagging you in all of these videos, but I just want to make sure that all the channels that we talk about, that we always tag them, because those creators deserve that praise and that viewership. And we'll also do Subtitles, which is our new segment, but we're not going to do a deep dive today. To be very honest, in the sake of transparency, I am Andrew Lincoln holding my signs outside of Keira Knightley's door, even though that is so inappropriate. That movie, there are so many things in that movie that are so inappropriate, I'm not even going to get started. But I just went to do our deep dive today, and nothing felt right. I went to do my notes, I had a couple ideas, nothing felt right, and I'm not going to force it. If something doesn't feel right with a deep dive or a segment of video, I'm not going to do it, because, y'all will be able to know that it wasn't my favorite. And so I still have some stuff for you today. Don't worry. Again, I'm sorry that the mood is a little bit down, but I just want to be genuine. I will never I know that we've just been doing this for this is our 6th month of doing this, and I just want y'all to know I'm never gonna BS you. And so today the energy's a little bit lower. It's very dreary here. I would say I'm wearing all black, but I am always wearing all black. This is not anything new. Y'all have seen this. I wear black lipstick all the time. But it's just, the mood's just a little down today. So, and I don't want to lie to y'all. I want to be honest and say it's been a rough past few days. So, if you're new here and have somehow not clicked off the video at this point, the B Movies channel is a continuation of the B Movies blog, which is run by myself and one of my best friends, Elliot. She is my editor. She is my collaborative partner, my ride or die, one of my friend soulmates. She's wonderful. So what we do is on the B Movies blog, we drop content every Monday through Friday. At 10 a.m. we drop a new piece. In October we do content Monday through Saturday. And then on Sundays, over on our Instagram, which is just at B Movies channel, same as our YouTube, we do what's called Bite Size Sunday. Bite Size Sundays are little reviews I do on pieces of content where I don't really think I have enough to say to warrant a full piece, but I still want to talk about it, and those just live on Instagram. Those don't live on the blog, and you can only get the teaser here. So to start us off, let's start with our blog roundup. And so Monday we talked about my favorite albums. I just really like sharing these lists with y'all of my favorite things. Y'all also seem to really like them. Like, one of our best performing pieces is still my favorite YouTube channels. I'm sure it has to do with Google alerts that people have turned on for when their content gets talked about, SEOs, things like that. But y'all seem to like them. I love doing it. And it's so nice to just kind of like bond with y'all over our shared favorites. On Tuesday, it was our Cup of Fear piece. So just a little bit of background, and I talk about this in the piece. I wanted to do something where I ranked the Masked Maniac franchises. So like Jason, Michael, any of our horror baddies that wear a mask. But I wanted a different angle. That just seemed, I was like, this just seems a little too lackluster for me. There's nothing wrong with it if you've written a piece like that, but for me, it just like, the words weren't coming the way that I wanted them to. And so I thought about, what if me, who was in a past life a former barista, what if I did a little kind of cheeky piece about the coffee orders that horror icons would have? And I think it's very funny. It's also very much the result of me growing up on things like crack.com. But I really enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed it too. Or if you haven't read it yet, I hope you will enjoy it. On Wednesday, we talked about Sweet Valley High. This is I got stoked a few weeks ago because I was not aware the series had been put on Amazon Prime to stream. And this actually worked out well because this piece is going to serve as a template for other teen dramas I'm planning to cover this year, because I'm definitely planning to do something with the OC, one of my faves. Degrassi, which I grew up on Degrassi, The Next Generation. And this is just going to kind of be the template for this year because for some reason, I don't know if it's being nostalgic, I don't know if it's being a millennial, and we tend to turn to the things we loved in middle school and high school when we're trying to live through yet another unprecedented event. But this year, I think there's going to be a lot with the 2000s. There's going to be a lot with teen dramas. Very excited, so buckle up. And this is just kind of the introductory piece to how these are going to be formatted moving forward. On Thursday, we talked about 2000s movie soundtracks. They just don't hit like that anymore, y'all. Like Josie and the Pussycats, you know, because y'all had Kay from Save Ferris, like, do vocals that were mixed with Rachel Lee Cook's. Like, come on. And like, think about Pink Slip from Freaky Friday. They just don't do it like that anymore, man. Like, the only time that they've ever done that is in VHS 99 when they have Bitch Cat. So, like, you know, it was just of a time, and so I just really wanted to talk about them. And then on Friday, today, we're talking about the dark side of the 2000s, because I've been writing a lot of content about this time period, but I also don't want to sugarcoat it. I think if I'm going to cover the good parts, I think it's only right to talk about there was a lot of toxic diet culture. There was a lot of size exclusivity, if I can speak. And so I only think it's right to talk about the dark side. So I did want to go ahead and present that as well, since we will be talking about the 2000s moving forward. I'm working on a piece about like 2000 socialites and that culture. So I thought it was only fair to talk about the dark side as well, especially because, when I was a kid, I was sick a lot. I was on a lot of steroids. I'm just not, I'm five, for those who don't know, I'm 5'10". I'm not a small person at all. Like, I am tall. Um, and so I also, growing up during that time period, it was hard. It was hard being as a plus size kid in that time frame because, Mary-Kate and Ashley didn't make fashions for plus size girls. A lot of these icons didn't make clothing brands for plus size girls. And so, like, I did get to be, in the sake of transparency, when I had a lot of EDs in high school and college. So there were some brands that I did get to wear because I had a problem. But, overall, it was very difficult. And so, again, I try to be as fair as possible. I try to be as unbiased as possible. I mean, there's always going to be an inherent bias. That's just being a human being, right? But I wanted to present that side as well. So just to recap, this week over on bmovies.blog, which will always be linked in the description box below, we have my favorite albums, Cup of Fear, Sweet Valley High, 2000 soundtracks, and the dark side of the 2000s. So now that we've gotten the blog roundup out of the way, let's do Bite Size Sunday. Like I said, lives exclusively on our Instagram, just at bmovies channel, same as our YouTube. And for those who don't know, I give teasers in this video, but they are, like I said last week, it is like Hannibal Lecter giving Clarice Starling clues. Like it's a lot of thought. But this week, your hint is, and this is why I keep to myself at my apartment complex. And the hint I will give, this is a new release. So, that should be all of the housekeeping. So let's go ahead and dive into special features, which are, again, if you're new around here, special features are reserved for updates on analog horror series or horror ARGs that we've covered before, topics that I just want to talk about or find interesting that I haven't found an angle for yet or that we may not write about. And it's just the long and short of it. It's just a section for exclusive content that you can only get over here on YouTube most of the time. So, for this week's special features, we have Married to a Sleepwalker video 4, and whoo-wee is it getting good. So we start with the same, like, Married to a Sleepwalker title card we've grown accustomed to, and then Shelley gets out of bed to go outside. However, if you remember from the previous video, and my previous video, all of the doors have been padlocked. So she briefly stands in the kitchen and just, like, stares into the camera before she immediately goes and retrieves the key from its hiding spot in Daniel's office. I mean, it's like 4 seconds. So then she unlocks the door, she goes outside, and she goes back to the original spot from the first video where they had outlined her feet in the chalk. So she's there. She goes, like, into praise pose for a second and starts making her croaking noise. But then she turns around, unplugs the mosquito zapper, that bug zapper that they have outside, and resumes her croaking. Daniel then finds her outside, and they start reviewing the footage from the night before. So Shelley, she starts trying to rationalize, like, how she knew where the key was by Daniel telling her, she's like, tells Daniel, like, I must have seen you hide it and, like, forgot, and it was just, like, in my subconscious, or you must have told me. And he reassures her that, like, she was in bed, she did not see him, he did not tell her, there's no way she could have seen or known. So she, like, cracks a couple jokes about, like, why she unplugged the zapper, and she wants to do the padlock test again. So the next night, Daniel does the same thing, hides the key, she finds it again in 3 seconds. And this continues for 5 nights total. So, and just no matter where he hides the key, she finds it almost immediately. Like, there is one time where he has it on top of a cabinet. Homegirl grabs a chair, stands up on it, and it honestly, to me, it reads like she's kind of annoyed that she's having to do this. So, when they're reviewing the footage from night 5, Shelley says it's adapting. And she seems to me, honestly, the read on that line, she's almost smitten. It's like she's kind of like smirking, like it's it's impressive to her. And, I think at best it's hopefully just a morbid curiosity, but at worst, again, it's like she's almost impressed. Daniel is, of course, super concerned, and Shelley says that she wants Daniel to show the footage to Dr. Lopez. There's, I believe he's a psychiatrist. So then he goes to call Dr. Lopez, but Shelley pushes his arm down and says to call him tomorrow, and we'll see in a moment why. So then we cut to a video of Dr. Randall Barr, who's the head of the CDC, like not the actual head of the CDC, like within the realm of married to a sleepwalker head of the CDC. And he's talking about LV, or the Livingston virus, which is the virus that has been a continuous plot point throughout the series. And Dr. Barr says his team went from a 0% infection rate to a 70% infection rate. So mosquitoes can't be the only means of transmission for this virus, because that doesn't make any logical sense for it to have spiked that high. And then, in a horrifying reveal, Dr. Barr says he believes that, and I quote, 99% of Western civilization could either be carrying the disease or be dead from the complications within a year. Woof. And when Dr. Barr is asked by the interviewer, who's off camera, what can be done, he's skeptical that anything can be done without continued research and resuming work on a vaccine. And see, again, like when we are living in a time of COVID, and for those who don't know, COVID is like spiking again, really badly. So like, please wear your mask, please get vaccinated. It just gave me goosebumps, because I was like, living in a pandemic, just. So Daniel pauses the video, like, because he's the one, obviously, that is watching the video. He pauses the video and goes to wake Shelley up as she's sleepwalking again. But this time is very different than any of the times before, at least that we have seen. He tries to wake her up and follow her out the door, but she turns around in their kitchen, does the praise pose, and then makes the creaking noise. Briefly. It's for just a couple seconds. She then takes the key to the door out of her shoe, because that's where Daniel's hid it, chunks her shoe at Daniel, like it's somebody throwing a chancla. Yeah, it's like with that much force. And then moves the kitchen table to try to like block his pathway, and then says, "Don't follow," in a demonic voice before walking out the door. Daniel, of course, because this is a horror series, makes his way around the table and begins to follow her outside. And he looks and he doesn't see her in either spot she's usually in, when suddenly she hurls what looks like a window screen, or like a screen door at him. And he falls to the ground. He's still conscious, but he like knocks him down. And Shelley, even though it's in her normal voice, it's clear like this is not Shelley. She tells Daniel that she warned him and that he's lucky she loves you. In that POV. Not like as in, you're lucky I love you, she loves you. So we're clearly one of the entities, or the entity that is inhabiting Shelley's brain and her body, is speaking to us directly, which is new. So she walks off. Daniel dusts himself off, like, I'll give him props. He gets up pretty fast for having, like a window screen chunked at his face. I'll give him props. He gets up pretty fast. And so he starts after her, and so he's like searching through the wooded areas. He's like lamenting about how he should have called the doctor, how this is his fault, how Shelley's never wandered this far. And we hear around him like some clicking and cracking noises. And then Daniel continues to look for her for hours. And then I feel like this is going to come back. I feel like this may be like a Chekhov's gun situation. I feel like we find out Shelley also can't swim. And there are multiple bodies of water around them. And I feel like that may come back. So I was like, I'm going to point that out. I feel like this may come back. So then in the morning, he's like looking for her for hours. And in the morning, he returns to their house, and the landlord asks him if his wife took the night off because they weren't outside. Daniel gets home. Shelley frantically meets him at the door and asks where he was. And then the camera turns to, it reminded me a lot of Pet Sematary. It's the part where he wanders out, where Pascal like leads him up, and he comes back and like there's dirt all over the sheets. That's what it reminds me of. It's like when Lewis has like that nighttime trek, and you like see his feet and there's like mud everywhere. And so there's dirt on the sheets, and Shelley is like, I get there, because sometimes when you're in a rough spot, you just try to you grasp at straws to find any silver lining. And she's like, at least I woke up in my own bed for once. And she has no memory of anything, absolutely no recollection of what happened. So after they review the footage, we see Shelley was back in bed not long after the altercation with Daniel. It was not very long. And Daniel couldn't find her. So it's like kind of interesting of like, how did she get back there? Yeah, like how did this happen? And so they debrief the footage. They each are talking about, like how one of them could have died out there, how they could have been injured. And so Shelley tells Daniel to call Dr. Lopez, and Daniel confesses he already did, and he uploaded a video for him to watch. And that the three of them have a video conference scheduled later for that day. And then Shelley, who is just clearly broken, says that Dr. Lopez will probably want to commit her again. But at this point, it's probably for the best. And that's how video 4 ends. It's getting good, y'all. I'm telling you, if I've not convinced you already, watch it. Vintage 8, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, I promise. So if you've not watched it yet, we're on video 4. I'm not sure how long this series is, obviously. But I feel like if you want to get in now. Because it's great. It's great if you're a horror fan, if you're a found footage fan, if you're an analog horror fan, whatever. I can't recommend Vintage 8 enough, period. But this series is wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. So now let's go ahead and skip to Subtitles, which Subtitles is our new segment where it's just little pieces of news around the internet. There's not a lot to talk about, but it's just fun little things that I thought I would throw your way about upcoming releases. Changes in cast, changes in directors, things in that vein. It's stuff I would usually post on my personal Instagram story, but I think it's fun to just throw out. So first up on Subtitles, Hacks announced on Instagram that season 3 will be coming this spring on Max. Very excited if you've not watched Hacks. I think it's one of the best shows out. Definitely watch it. Next up, we have, speaking of Max, new members of the White Lotus have been announced, including Leslie Bibb, Jason Isaacs, Michelle Moynihan, and our queen, our icon, our savior, Parker Posey. And y'all cannot even believe or begin to imagine how excited I am. I am so excited. So can't wait for season 3 of White Lotus. Next up, Jacob Elordi will be playing Frankenstein's monster in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I think it's going to be really interesting. I want to see how this goes, not because I think Jacob Elordi, I think he's a good actor. I will admit, I was very lukewarm about him for a very long time, but then once I saw Priscilla, which if y'all know, I hated Priscilla, but I thought he was wonderful in it. I thought he was wonderful in Saltburn. And so I think he may have gotten stuck in like a Zac Efron teen boy trap. And I'm really glad that he's taking on these heavier roles because I do believe he's actually a good actor. I just think this casting is interesting. We'll see what happens. Next up, and lastly, a cryptic trailer has been released for a new movie from Neon. I will link it below. There are several theories and speculations in rotation right now. My money is on this is Oz Perkins' new film, Longlegs, with Nick Cage and Micah Monroe. That is what I think. I fully agree with the people who say that. Again, I'll link the trailer below. Let y'all make up your mind. I think this is wonderful because it is so hard. Again, it's been 0 days since I've talked about the marketing for the Blair Witch. But see, like, it's so hard to pull off marketing like that anymore. I think this is great. So, I'm very excited. Again, I think this is Oz Perkins' Longlegs, and I think it's going to be good. So, I think that will wrap us up for today. Again, I know we've been doing longer videos. I personally, on YouTube, I am a longer video girly. Like, I love things like video essays. You know, the Smosh Reddit stories, that those videos tend to be over an hour. I am a long form YouTube video girly. But it has been a very long past few days. I think it's going to be still a few of those. And I mean, that's just how life works, right? So I'm going to wrap it up for today, but please be sure to follow me on Instagram at Lisa_Frankenstein_. Follow Elliot at reading.with.red. Follow us at bmovies channel. Again, that's the only place you can get Bite Size Sundays. And be sure to visit the blog, just bmovies.blog. Please be sure to subscribe. If you aren't subscribed, it is free. Be sure to give us a like if you are so inclined, or leave a comment. And just thank you for the support. And again, if you're having a rough past few days like I am, we're going to get through it. I don't like saying it's going to be okay because we know it's going to be okay eventually, but right now it doesn't feel okay. But we're going to get through it. We may have some new battle scars. If you're me, you may have stomach issues and feel like hot garbage, but we'll get through it. It may not be pretty, it may not be fun, but we're going to get through it. So I think at this point, all that's left to do is fade to black.